We're rolling.
Welcome to the House Dudes podcast, where we invite you to follow us on our journey towards financial freedom using the power of real estate. I'm Jack Haas.
And I'm Josh Koth. Here at House Dudes, we believe in a couple key principles. Number one, the best way to retain information is by teaching it to others. And number two, a rising tide lifts all boats. We're not competitors, we're a community. So let's get into some real estate investing. Hey Jack, can you tell me who said this famous quote? And I quote, "No one will ever sell to me at that price," end quote. You know what famous philosopher that was? Guy who will never get deal.
That's very true. And it's that type of mindset that we need to break through here today.
Yeah, I remember before I bought any property, if the idea of someone selling at a deep discount was just completely foreign and seemed an impossible thing, and you kind of have to have it happen a few times or see it happen with other investors to believe that it's even possible. And that's kind of what we want to achieve with today's podcast. And the subject matter here is to convince you that it is possible. And we're going to speak about a few specific deals and the reasons that they sold at a deep discount. And hopefully by the end, you'll believe that it is possible and happens hopefully a lot.
Yeah, and when I think we chatted about this before, that we don't want to negotiate on the seller's behalf. And I think that's one of the big problems that people have. We get into this mindset that there's no way they're going to take this type of price, and then we start putting ourselves into that seller situation.
Yeah, you never want to negotiate against yourself. So really, and another thing to remember too is we're not... You're never convincing, you're not talking anyone into selling for a discount. You're just filtering and finding the ones that are willing. So kind of bigger picture, we're going to talk about, first of all, before we talk about the reasons why someone would sell at a deep discount, let's talk about the reasons why they wouldn't. Well, number one, if price is the most important thing, it's highest on their priority list. If getting every dollar for their property is most important to them, chances are you're not going to be able to buy that property at a deep discount. And you just have to get to that decision and that realization as quickly as you can and move on to somebody that will.
Yeah, I think this is why one of the reasons why we haven't had any personal success dealing with for sale by owners. I know that there's a lot of people that target those as an acquisition point, but frankly, we have found that in dealing with FSBOs, they are the extreme situation where they are definitely driven by price is their priority to the point where they don't even want to pay a realtor fee.
Yeah, if they're trying to save that 6% or whatever your realtors charge in your market, they're not willing to even give up that portion in order to hopefully sell quicker at a higher price and get more eyeballs on it by being on the MLS. Chances are they're not going to give up even more to sell to you. A lowball cash investor, lowball in air quotes. So yeah, FSBOs have been tough for that. So that's an example of somebody who typically has price pretty high in their priority list. Another reason would be that they don't have sufficient urgency or what we call motivation. If there's not some external force pushing them to need or to really, really want to sell the house quickly, typically there's not going to be enough there for them to be willing to sacrifice any equity. Another thing would be they may want to sell at a deep discount, but they may not have the ability to because there's not enough equity. Let's say they just purchased a house recently, and with the types of loans that are available now, you can get into a house fairly with not much money down, as low as 1% to 3% sometimes. So they just may not have the ability to sell at a deep discount because there's no equity and they couldn't even pay off their loan if they took your offer.
And lastly, they're just not in a distressed situation, whether it's the property or the seller themselves.
Right. Yeah. Typically, you'll find a running theme is some type of distress, whether it's the property or the seller. And if that isn't present, chances are neither is a deal. So now that we've kind of covered a few reasons why people won't sell at a discount, let's talk about reasons they will sell at a discount and we kind of try to stick to the ones that we've encountered quite a bit and are the most common. So number one, at least in our area and just our personal experience, has been elderly people just kind of have lived in the house a long time and they just want to downsize, sell quickly, and not have the hassle of have people trouncing through their house, doing lots of showings. In their mind, they might think they have to do a bunch of repairs, although we've purchased properties that didn't need a lot of repair. But, sometimes homeowners have pretty high standards and they might think it needs to be fixed a lot more than it does. So that's really been our number one reason that people are willing to sell at a discount is they're just they have the ability. They probably have the house paid off or significantly paid down. They have tons of equity, and they just want a hassle-free transaction done quickly.
Another would be financial troubles. They're just having that experience, whether it's a job loss or the tax collector is knocking on the door.
Yeah, if all of a sudden that monthly payment is hard to meet, that can be a ripe example for someone willing to sell at a discount. One example of that would be we purchased a house that a mother moved to a different property and then was paying the mortgage on their previous house, and their son was living in it and was kind of the classic deadbeat, I'm not paying anything, son. So this lady wanted to get rid of the house that she was paying, for her a second mortgage on, basically, with no income. She actually came in with money to pay off the bank because our offer wasn't quite enough to cover, the bank loan. So in rare cases, sometimes people will even come in with cash just to get rid of that extra payment. So that was financial trouble. Her son wasn't paying anything, and that place was just costing her money. She wanted that monthly payment gone. So we were able to make a deal there.
Number 3 is divorce. And I'm working with somebody right now regarding this. They're having a pretty nasty breakup, and he just wants to be off the mortgage and is pressuring her pretty severely to get that property sold quickly. So it depends on the situation too. It could be just a nasty divorce. It could be a lot of pressure internally just to move on. And in this, it's kind of a trifecta because she alone cannot qualify for a mortgage, and she can't qualify she doesn't have the money to purchase the home outright.
Right, to pay the other person off or refi in her name alone. So that is a really prime situation for an investor to come in, and all of a sudden getting top dollar for that property becomes an impossibility, and they don't have the luxury of getting the top retail price. So they're kind of necessitates them selling at a deep discount in order to meet the pressures that they're feeling. So that can be a great opportunity for an investor as well. Next one is too many repairs. Okay, so this is a obvious one. We walk through a house and it's pretty distressed. This is the classic distressed properties, that investors are looking for. A lot of times the homeowner just doesn't have the ability. They don't have the money. They don't know where to start with even fixing it up. So they could get retail price and sell it on the MLS to a homeowner. They just might not have that ability or that desire, and they just kind of want to wash their hands of it and walk away. And it's much easier for them to just sell quickly to an investor and move on.
Another would be health problems, and I'm working on another one right now where the sister-in-law is having some severe health problems, and they frankly just need to sell the house. It's a family burden right now to deal with the house and deal with the health problems, and they just want some quick cash to help with some medical expenses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that happens quite a bit too. Another reason would be they moved for employment reasons. We just purchased a house last month where a gentleman moved across the state 5 hours away and had this property and was sick of coming back and trying to take care of it. And for him, it was worth it just to sell at a discount to not have that problem anymore. And sometimes these reasons will overlap too. And if you have overlapping reasons, this property was also fairly distressed. And this guy may have been having financial troubles as well. So there might have been it might have been three of these factors at play on one property. And when those reasons overlap, that's really ripe for a deep discount. And I believe we purchased this one at about 30% of ARV. So that was a really good deal. And, when you stack those reasons on top of one another, that can really help you out as an investor.
Yeah, that's a good point. As you stack these problems on top of each other, one issue or one problem that you're trying to solve is you'll get a discount. But if there's multiple issues in play, the deeper the discount. Yeah,
exactly. So that's why it's important to really, take your time when you're talking to sellers and find out and just listen, ask questions and listen and try to dig for that kernel of motivation that might be deep below the surface, and you got to spend some time looking for that. Another thing to notice here is there's a lot of pain in these reasons. Almost every one of these reasons, there's something bad going on in the seller's life. And, you have to make sure you have a lot of empathy for that. And really, we don't want to be taking advantage of these people. You have to look at the service you're providing as a valuable service, and you're almost throwing them a life preserver and a way out of the situation. So it's important to understand that you're bringing a lot of value to this, and, we're not taking advantage. And our goal at the end is for the sellers to be hugging us at the closing table. If we happen to be closing at the same time, we want them to be happy. Thank you for, solving this problem. And that's happened quite a bit, and if we're happy with the price that we purchased the property at, they're happy walking away and their problem being solved, everyone's happy at the end, that's in our mind a big success.
Yeah, so don't undervalue what you're doing here. I mean, you're providing a pretty significant service. You're really helping these people out of these situations.
Right, because if you hadn't come along, what were they going to do? Obviously, if they had the option of fixing up the house and selling it on the MLS to another family, they would do that. So if they don't have that as an option, you might be their only option that could work. So you are providing a lot of value. So it's important to make sure that you go in there with the confidence that you're providing a valuable service and you're there to help and you're empathetic for their situation. And, at the end of this, we're all going to be hopefully friends and everybody's happy. And we're improving the neighborhood, improving the house, raising property values, all those things. If you're flipping and, turning the property over to another family, that's good for the neighbors. It's good for the seller. It's good for the family that you're selling to. Hopefully it's win-win-win all the way around.
Yeah. And, we gave you 6 examples here, but there are quite a few more. We've dealt with quite a few other options and situations here, whether it's a death in the family, hoarders, what have you. So don't limit yourself to these examples we gave you, because in the end, you're really out to help that seller.
Yeah, probate items, like you said, death in the family. Another one is tired landlords. That's another big source of properties and pain potentially as well for them. This list can be almost endless. We're just kind of trying to concentrate on the ones that we've seen time and time again, and just to kind of notice the theme of a lot of the pain that's going on. And just to really understand that you need to be super, super empathetic when you're dealing with these people that are potentially in these painful situations.
We've put a lot of effort into providing useful content, and if you found value in the show and have any interest in supporting us with a small donation, head over to patreon.com/housedudes.
And if you have any thoughts or questions, shoot us an email at info@housedudes.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter @housedudes. And if you like what you're hearing, head over to iTunes, subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. It really helps other investors out there find the show.
And remember, massive positive impact requires
massive positive action. We'll see you next time. This episode was brought to you by HouseDudes.com. Do you live in a good cash flowing market? If so, Turnkey isn't the best choice for you. You should buy in your market. If you don't live in a great market for investors, where can you find profitable cash flowing properties?
We love the Midwest, where prices are reasonable and the people are great. We personally invest here and have lived in the area all of our lives. So how does Turnkey work? We find the property, we rehab the property, and we find you a tenant and place you under the care of our local property manager, who we trust with all our own investment properties. I'm sure you have questions about how the process works and what to do next. If that's the case, fill out the contact form on housedudes.com and we'll reach out to see if you are a good fit for our business. We have a limited supply of properties every month, so we can only sell to a select few qualified buyers. We'll see you on housedudes.com.
I don't like to tell a man what to do with his money, but if you ain't investing in property, then you're dumber than a dummy.
I'm not dumb. I'm smart.
Well, buy property. That's my advice.